Hi guys, today I'm going to be showing you my chicken, mushroom and tarragon cassoulet. Now cassoulet is a traditional French dish which is normally quite a heavy, rich stew of white beans and pork sausages and mutton and duck and all kinds of meaty, delicious things. But this is a kind of lighter version that I make with chicken and my favourite herb, tarragon, and lots of lovely, beautiful mushrooms. First things first, we're going to preheat the oven to 180 and then we're going to roast off some of these lovely cherry tomatoes. So I'm just going to chop them in half and put them into an oven-proof dish. And I'm just going to put some olive oil over these and a nice pinch of salt and pepper. Give them a toss about and then stick them in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes until they're nice and concentrated. Now we're going to cook off the mushrooms with some shallots and garlic and the tarragon. So just start by chopping your shallots. You could use onions if you don't have shallots, but I do find that shallots have a lovely sweet flavour to them. And then get your frying pan, put it on the heat, just on a medium to high heat. And put in a nice knob of butter. And then put in your shallots and garlic in there, and a nice pinch of salt. And then a nice big handful of this lovely tarragon, which goes so well with mushrooms and chicken, and it's got a lovely sweet anise flavour to it that I just absolutely love. Give that a rough chop and go in there. And now for the mushrooms. Now I've got a lovely selection of chestnut, portobello and oyster mushrooms here, but you can just mix it up with whatever you can get hold of. If you can find delicious wild mushrooms, then go for it. It's really, really nice with chanterelles when they're in season, or field mushrooms, so any kind of mushrooms you can get your hands on. So I'm just going to chop these up quite roughly and put them in. You might have to do this in batches, depending on how big your pan is. And you want to fry them in there with the shallots and the tarragon. And you want to cook these until they lose their moisture and they start getting a nice golden crust on the outside. And put some black pepper in as well. You want to just cook these for about 10 minutes until they've lost their moisture and they're starting to caramelize and go kind of golden like that. Look at the lovely golden crust on that, and that's what we want to see. So that's where all the flavour's coming from. And these are ready now, so I'm going to put them into a bowl, and I'm going to add in some chopped parsley. I love flat leaf parsley, it's just got such a lovely, lovely flavour, peppery and gorgeous. So that's going in there with the mushrooms. And I'm also going to put in a tiny drop of white wine vinegar or tarragon vinegar, just to give it a bit of acidity. But you don't want it to be vinegary, it's really just to peak the flavour of these mushrooms. And then leave those to one side. Now we're going to brown the chicken before we can put it all together into the casserole. So in here with some olive oil. It's going to spit a little bit probably, so stand back. And then get your chicken thighs, and I like to use them on the bone because they give more flavour as they cook. And then skin side down in the pan to brown them off. You might have to work in batches depending on your pan. Okay, I'm going to put an apron on because it's spitting at me a little bit and I don't want to ruin my dress. So not quite so glamorous. When they're getting this lovely golden crust on their skin, you turn them over. Woo! And the thighs are brown now, so we're going to take them off and just put them to one side on a plate. Lovely. I like to use corn-fed chicken because it's got more flavour, and always try and go organic if you can, guys. So then I'm just going to drain off some of this excess chicken fat. And we're just going to keep the pan on the heat and pour this nice glass of dry white wine into the pan to pick up all the flavours. Woo! It's gonna spit all the flavours from browning the chicken. And scrape up some of that nice brown bits of flavour. Okay, so it's been about 15 to 20 minutes, so we're just going to get the tomatoes out of the oven. Oh, and they look lovely. Gorgeous and roasted. They smell really, really good. And we're just going to put them to one side because we're going to cook the chicken in some chicken stock and the pan juices that we just made. So you just want to put your chicken thighs into a big casserole like this. I use a Le Creuset, but any big pot would do. So pop them in there. Try not to crowd them too much. And they are just gorgeous and golden now. Any juices that have gathered while they've been sitting there, pour that in there. And then put in your olives. We've got some lovely sliced pitted Kalamata olives going in there. And then the pan juices that we just made. Pour over the top. And about 500 to 700 ml of chicken stock. Now, I always like to use homemade chicken stock if I can. I think it's just a really, really good thing to make in bulk and keep in your fridge or your freezer. It just makes such a difference, but you could use a stock cube and it would still be delicious. So cover the chicken like that. So we're going to take it over here and then just going to bring it up to the boil and simmer it for about 35 minutes, just over a gentle heat. You don't want it to be raging away, you just want it simmering. We're now going to add in the tomatoes that we roasted earlier. So they're going to go in here, into this lovely stock with the chicken that's now cooked through nicely and should be falling off the bone, hopefully. And then I've got some cannellini beans. Now, I've used a tin of cannellini beans that I've drained and rinsed because they're still very nice, but if you're particular about these things, you could soak your cannellini beans and add those in. Those are going in here. I'm just kind of stirring it all up to combine it. So bring it up to the boil and then turn it down again to a simmer and just simmer it for about 5 to 7 minutes. And now that's been bubbling away for a few minutes, so it's time to add in the mushrooms and shallots that we cooked earlier and the tarragon. Just gently stir that through. And you can just see here how tender this chicken is now. It's kind of falling off the bone and it's being incorporated into this lovely sauce, and that's what you want. You want this to be a real kind of tender, comforting dish with all the flavors melded together. And then just going to simmer that for a couple more minutes. So it's ready to go. And the really brilliant thing about this dish is it makes enough. So if you're having a few people over for dinner, it's a really good one, or it's one that you can cook and then live off for the next few days. So I'm just going to ladle it out. And I'd allow sort of 1 to 2 thighs per person, depending on how greedy you are. And you see like the sauce has gone all kind of lovely and thick and creamy with all the beans. And then just garnish it with some nice fresh tarragon leaves, just for that little extra tarragon freshness. And the smells that are going to hit you when you pick up this bowl to start digging in are just fantastic, because you've got that real aromatic tarragon and the smell of chicken that's been cooking for a long time. I'm just going to give it a little try now. It's lovely. It's really mellow and really, really fresh, but really comforting and warming as well. I really hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed eating it. If you really like it, then please subscribe for more videos like this.